Welcome to Extra Butter in our Oscar special. It's the little movie that could. Will Lady Bird take it? If not, maybe it's the big movie that could. Will Dunkirk take it? I don't know, maybe it's the horror movie that could. Get Out breaking all kinds of barriers. We'll talk about that and more on this edition of Extra Butter. Continuing our Oscar special. It's Alexa Renee. It's Kelly Savannah Deaton. It's the owner of the Comedy Spot, Brian Crawl.
Hello, I'm back for one show.
At least you get to walk the red carpet. Oh wait, we don't have a red carpet. It's kind of a popcorn buttered stained carpet. But still, it's our Oscar special. All right, on the count of three, what are you? Don't trip over the pop. It's our Extra Butter special right there. What Oscar-nominated movie are you most excited about? 1, 2, 3.
Shape of Water.
I just said because I haven't really made up my mind. But seriously, what are you most looking forward to?
I want to see Lady Bird, and I can't wait to see Octavia Spencer.
I'm saying, yeah, absolutely. Shape of Water, she was brilliant in that. Brian, you love Shape of Water.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see Shape of Water win big at the Oscars this year. I think it's going to take a lot of the categories.
And Kelly?
Get Out. I mean, come on, horror movies right up my alley, and Mary J. Blige.
Well, we got them all. Jordan Peele, Mary J. Blige, all the stars nominated for the Academy Awards coming up right here, right now, because it's our Oscar special! Woo! We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. It is Extra Butter, our Oscar special. If you couldn't tell by that fancy opening animation there, and also the fact that we got Brian Crawl from the Comedy Spot.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's meet the other players. Alexa, where did we find you?
Hi, at Alexa Renee.
All right, Kelly.
And I'm Kelly. You can find me at Kelly Savannah Deaton.
And when not at the Comedy Spot, where do we find you?
Brian C. Comedy on all the social medias.
All right, and I am right there if you want to argue about any of our favorite movies. Now, you said your favorite movie was going to be Shape of Water. You're kind of rooting for that a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right, you were saying?
Definitely Lady Bird.
Yeah, exactly. You got to root for Lady Bird. Greta Gerwig might take it. You were saying?
Get Out. How do you not like horror movies? And the fact that a horror movie is in the Oscar race is incredible.
And I love that it came out during a period in time where you don't normally park the Oscar-nominated movies and went to take it. I sat down with the cast and crew to talk about it, including Mr. Jordan Peele himself. Take a look.
This movie, you know, writing a movie, you don't think like, I'm such a fan. You don't think someone's actually going to make your movie. Right. So you just write something with the passion. You write something with your favorite movie that you've never seen, and hopefully, you know, somebody picks it up. And you know, with Get Out, it was definitely a movie I didn't think anyone was ever going to make. And
I was going to ask, with that said, are you allergic to scary movies, or are you a huge fan of this product?
I am, you know, when I was a kid, I was as terrified of scary movies as anyone could be. I was very scared of the dark till like 12, just a complete coward. At some point, a switch flip, and I was like, you know, anything that can affect me that much is art. Is masterful. And so from that point on, I've respected horror as an art form.
How do you get through a movie like this without telling at least one person, here's what's really going on?
Just knowing how much more satisfying it would be to not know anything going into it. I think that, and Jordan really engineered it so that it's entertaining both ways, either if you've seen it already or if you haven't seen it yet. But seeing it for the first time has to be, we'll never have that experience, but without knowing what's happening, has to be one of the great.
I slipped up in my barber shop in London. And then as the trailer came out, and I was talking about it, because, oh yeah, there's this, and then there's this.
Right.
And they're like, why did you just do that? Why did
You're like,
the whole barbershop was like,
put down the razor.
It was like, put down the razor.
right, exactly.
And I was like, oh, I've taken that away from him. And it was only a little bit, and I was like, oh yeah, this happens, and he has to, and then they were like, man, like, I'm gonna have to forget that. He's like, when is it coming out? I was like, February, March. He's like, I'm gonna have to forget it. And he was so downbeat. Like, I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Ooh, and you know what's really creepy?
What?
Her dad's Brian Williams. Allison Williams is Brian Williams' daughter. You know what?
Right.
It's not so creepy. It's just trivia. That's all I'm saying.
Cool.
All right, let's bring in an expert, ladies and gentlemen. You want to talk Get Out? This guy championed it early on, and he said it's going to be nominated for Academy Award. And I said, Well, now here to say, it's Sean Edwards.
Welcome. Hey, Sean.
Hey, you knew.
Hey, good guys. I'm not fancy like you guys.
Sure you are.
You're fancier. You know how you know you're famous? When you dress like you're dressed right now at the Oscars. That says, I'm famous and I don't care.
Very true, very true.
All right, so this movie came out. I said I loved it. I love all the messages underneath the messages of the movie, but I never thought it was going to go on to be nominated for an Academy Award. And you said, oh, hell yeah, it will.
Yeah, crazy, right? This movie, we've been talking about this movie for an entire year. How many movies does that happen? I mean, when it first came out, I just kind of had this feeling because it was nothing like I had ever seen before. I loved all the messages. I loved the way it played out. And it's like, you know what? It's about time that horror movies get some love, and this is the one to do it. It's just one of those movies that have people talking and thinking at the same time.
So what about all the great performances in this, especially Daniel's performance in this? I mean, stellar, right on, brilliant performance.
No, he carries the entire movie. If Daniel's performance is flat or if his performance falters and the movie doesn't work, he's good from the beginning to the end, from A to Z. And it's him. He makes this thing work. He makes it happen. I know Jordan's direction is brilliant, but if Daniel doesn't pull it off, Get Out doesn't work.
Would you feel conflict if you had someone of that in your hometown, yet you wanted Get Out to win?
I would totally feel conflict because I'm always pulling for the local. But I mean, Get Out. I mean, that's the script is what makes Get Out work. I mean, Lady Bird's a once in a lifetime type movie. Greta Gerwig did her thing. Three Billboards is amazingly written, but I think you got to give it to Get Out because I think the screenplay win for Get Out might be the only win it gets. And that's the way that Hollywood can recognize a film that was made for under $5 million, that grossed $250 worldwide, and people talked about all year long. And Jordan Peele is such a nice guy. I just don't think he can win Best Director, so they'll give him the win for screenplay.
All right, one last question. Who are you wearing?
I went local with the sweatshirt, and as well known, I can't name drop the brand with the hat, but the sweatshirt's definitely local from Kansas City called We Got Your Back Apparel. It's a fake Rolling Stone logo with KC branded in the top.
Wow, represent KC.
Nice. Yes,
John Edwards,
always.
Where can we find you on social media?
All social media, S. Edwards KC, if you can stand to bear it.
Hey, Brian, it's Sean Edwards, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, man. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye, Sean.
You know what's so weird about this year's Oscars is like you have movies that are polar opposites of each other.
Right.
Like Get Out and Lady Bird couldn't be more different, all in the same category. I don't want to be the person who decides who wins this year.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that for me, Get Out resonated more. I guess I had more of a connection with Get Out than I did with Lady Bird. Lady Bird is great for what it is.
Right.
I think that it's comparing apples to oranges at the same time. They're two completely different movies, both really good. Just depends on what you relate to more.
Yeah, and I agree with you too. I think that with Get Out, it's not just a horror movie. It has a psychological thing that will attach to your brain. So that's why it's held its spot in this Oscar race this whole year. Because like you said, it's not typically in the placement for Oscars. But, I mean, Jordan Peele knocked it out of the park, and that's why it's still here right now.
And what I meant by that, they released that movie in February. It's pretty much kind of when you dump movies you don't expect to win Academy Awards. I think it's going to be a game changer on that level. I'd like to see it go on and win. And believe me, I've been predicting for 20 years. I didn't get it wrong. I could predict. And all of a sudden last year, the La La Land upset, Moonlight deservedly won, but who saw that coming?
Nobody saw it.
I did.
We totally
called it.
So there you have it. This year, a shakeup could happen. All right, another movie that came out of nowhere that might take it as well. 3 Billboards. The rest of which I can't remember. Anybody?
3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
That's the one. In addition to that, The Shape of Water, Brian Krall's favorite love story involving a fish. Next. Hey, welcome back. It is our Extra Butter Oscar special. Special. Thanks for hanging out with us. I hope you're making your Academy Award predictions at home, and I hope you do better than we're going to do.
No, I think we do okay.
On
Last year blew everything up. This year I have no confidence whatsoever.
There's no job too immense when you've got confidence.
Yes, get that confidence
confidence back.
All right, well, that's what we're here for, to discuss. Work out for yourselves. Follow us online. Shout back if we say something that conflicts or if you agree with. Brian Crawl, you love Shape of Water.
Yeah, solid performances in the film. That aside, this movie is beautiful. I mean, every single frame of this movie, it looks like an artist did it, right? I mean, it's such a great film and it has a cool message. But really, it's just a beautifully artistically done, well done film.
Can we break it down and talk about some adult themes for a moment?
Yes, okay, so I was like looking intently at Brian. I wanted to talk about that. Like, okay, Brian, but let's get to like the love making fish and human part.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I love your symbol.
There is a hand sign language, despite the fact that one of the characters is hearing impaired. Octavia does kind of a, I don't know if we can do it here. All right, I'm just saying.
The movie.
There is a way of saying.
Didn't she show you? Or didn't she talk about it?
In the movie, she does it too, right?
Yeah, so I'm sitting down with this Academy Award winner. Octavia Spencer is a class act and classes up any movie that she's in. She elevates it. The last thing I wanted to do is bring up the fish making love scene.
But you did.
She did. Don't put it on me. Look.
In this day and age where on a movie like this, often you'd just be looking at a green screen or a tennis ball and go, that's gonna be it, and this is gonna happen, and then it's gonna do this. And on this movie, like, it's there. That creature's right there in front of you.
And we were grateful for Doug because, you know, he's the male lead of the film, and yet he doesn't speak a word. He's, you know, but he's acting with us.
Right.
It's 90% actor, 10% visual effects. That all of the movement, the floating, the sweat. I mean, that's Doug. He is a true. There's only a few people in the world who can do what he does, and that's why he has worked with Guillermo in just about every one of his films.
Yeah, it was remarkable. Do you have a favorite scene, having seen the movie now?
My favorite scene, and it's one of the ones that Guillermo showed me earlier. I love everything with Giles and Eliza in the apartment, but my favorite scene is the love scene.
Oh, the getting busy scene?
The getting busy scene, because you just, you know, you don't realize how attached you become to rooting for these characters.
Right, so. And it's kind of triumphant. And I'm explaining the scene to people, and they're saying, "Wait, how does the?" And I go, "You just got to see it.
You got to see it. You got to see it." And the minute it's easy to suspend your belief and be a part of the world. So that by the time that they do, you know, consummate their relationship, you believe it and you're rooting for it.
Okay, but to be fair, it's really not that weird, okay? Beauty and the Beast came along. Nobody said anything when that happened. This is kind of the same thing. Beast, fish. Is it really that different?
The message at heart is about love.
Yes,
and we all know that you can't pick the people you fall in love with, right?
Right.
And this would never happen in real life. Movies are escapism. Therefore, it keeps you entertained and you're like, what the?
Yeah, this
But
coming
it's a
from the girl
love
whose
story.
boyfriend looks like an Abercrombie and Fitch model.
Yeah.
Listen, boy, did you.
I have messed around with a fish before, all right?
What?
And I find it to be wonderful. Like, they are beautiful. They take care of you. They take care of your needs.
Are you talking about your girlfriend?
No, I'm talking about a fish.
Remember, always kiss the fish.
I have made out with a fish
Does your girlfriend know about this experience?
No, don't tell her about
Let's
it.
awkwardly segue into my interview with director Guillermo del Toro.
You know you need help for that, right?
Congratulations on this.
Thank you, man.
A man who has made some of my favorite movies now has made one of the best movies of all time, I think.
Thank you.
It is really remarkable.
Thank you very much. I mean, I'm very proud of it. It's been such an endeavor making the movie for 19.5 million when the scope is 60, 70 million big. Very hard, very detail-oriented, but the movie I like the most that I made.
You know, I don't want to get into it too detailed because I want people to discover it on their own, but there are moments in the movie where in the Hollywood system, someone without your clout, people would be saying, yeah, that probably shouldn't happen there. No one's going to buy that this is happening.
Yes. But the great thing about this movie is when we started working with Fox Searchlight, I said, this is the movie. You know, if you want it exactly as it is, just like if you fell in love with it, that's it.
All right. Was there ever a moment where you, as the creator of this, were practically weeping on set because it was coming together so beautifully?
Well, yes, many times. The one that I remember particularly is that monologue. She has no voice, but she has a monologue with Richard Jenkins about what love is. And I still to this day get very emotional.
He's definitely a unique individual,
Love
right?
his movies, I'm
Love
telling
his
you.
movies, and he actually wrote this movie for Sally Hawkins. He had her in mind while writing this, so when he approached her, he kind of sold her on the script. She was a little hesitant, but it's Guillermo del Toro.
It's very
Every
creative.
movie is so artistically gorgeous.
Yeah.
A little weird, but all the same, it's beautiful. And like I said, the message is about love, so you can't beat that.
Nobody does monsters, whether it be Hellboy or this, like he does. And
Yeah.
look, I'm an old guy. I grew up on reruns on TV of The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Right.
So I love seeing the creature side of things.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like, it's really not that weird once you actually watch the movie. Watch the movie so that you know why it's nominated.
What's that old adage, creatures need to get some too? That's not an adage, but I just threw it out there.
Something about more fish in the sea?
I don't know.
That's not a thing.
You're not allowed to
That's
talk
not
about
a
you and
thing.
fish anymore.
Now let's awkwardly get into my Richard Jenkins interview.
yeah.
Here's another Academy Award winner bringing it to the movie, as well as the guy that plays the creature. Doug, take a look.
In the suit, any obstacles acting through that? Because
No.
it is so elegant, your performance in
Oh,
it.
bless you for that. Thank you. Always obstacles, yes. When you're covered from head to toe in a rubber makeup like that, I'm hotter than I want to be. I'm heavier than I want to be. I can't see very well. Can't hear very well. I've got gills going like this with
Yeah.
mechanical noises
And
going.
then he puts the suit on.
This is makeup.
Yeah.
This is
So,
prosthetics.
this took 5 hours. Okay, so yeah, and I want my money back, basically.
This is going to this will sound like a ridiculous question, but how did you go to the bathroom?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
No, not often. I had a front flap. I did not have a back flap, so I had to take care of things ahead of time. This is a young man's game, and I am 57 now. I'll tell you what. But I had webbed fingers on, webbed gloves on, so I couldn't really do much even to get to the front flap. So at lunchtime, they would unglue one of my hands, and I was able to use to function as a human for a minute. Before going back into my glove again.
You could have gone many different directions with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even those interviews getting a little bit awkward. When you try to tell people about this movie, it's going to be awkward.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying they have to actually check it out to understand.
You gotta see it.
Yeah, it's an emotional connection to the movie. You actually do get a little bit connected to the monster fish,
Exactly.
And
It's hard
gonna
to
win.
explain.
It's going to win awards.
I think
That's
it
the thing.
definitely,
Yeah.
it already has with the Golden Globes, the SAG Awards. I mean, it's taking the cake with this one, but you have to watch it to really understand it.
It's the odds-on favorite only because it has more nominations than any of the movies, so we'll see. Well, look, hey, we're wrapping up our discussion about it, and we're not getting sent to HR as far as I can see. We're okay. All right, Dunkirk, not awkward at all. We'll talk about that and whether Christopher Nolan will bring home the gold next. Hey, welcome back to Extra Butter and our Oscar special. This is where we talk about the movies that aren't Black Panther because, truth be told, everybody that's going to see Black Panther, make some noise! Woo-hoo! So these would be all the other movies that are nominated this year for the Academy Awards. Starting off with Dunkirk. Anybody a fan?
Yes. It's not. I know that's. Yes, that's surprising.
Why did you say that like I wouldn't think you would like a
Because-
historic war movie?
Typically, I'm not the demographic, I feel like, but let me tell you, it is an awesome movie because it's not your typical war movie. There's not a lot of gore. There is not a lot of crazy amount of violence and blood and gore and everything. And it's a short movie that has enough in it, enough intensity to keep you glued to the screen the entire time. And the performances, there wasn't a lot given as far as dialogue, but every performance was above par, and it's a great movie.
I feel like she started selling the movie and then suddenly towards the end, unsold the movie.
No, I'm saying that it's a good thing. There's usually, with Christopher Nolan movies, there's quite a bit of dialogue, but there's not. They're epic performances without all the dialogue. It's a short movie.
I think that's where I have my issue with the film. Like, there's not a lot of dialogue. You don't care about the characters at the end of the film like you would in a normal film, but it's a beautiful film. It's like it's like Disney made this. It's like soaring over World War II.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the visuals are amazing, right? The visuals are amazing, but there's not a lot of storyline.
No.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
That's why they had Harry Styles in it, because he didn't really have to talk much, because we all know That I mean, he has a lot of other talents. I'm just saying that Olympian Adam Rippon, is that his name?
Yeah.
He was like shouting him out and everything. I mean, everybody wants a piece of Harry Styles.
Yeah.
But he's not exactly the talking type.
I sat down with Christopher Nolan and the cast, including Harry Styles, who said like 3 words in my interview, 2 more than he said in the movie. Take a look.
There's a level of tension and a level of concern that as an audience member I have in this movie that I've never had in such a sustained way. I mean, the entire movie, and it's not just me, I've discussed this with a lot of people. You're a little bit forward, you're a little bit on edge, wanting to know what the next moment, and it keeps you at that level for a greater duration than any movie I've ever experienced.
Well, thank you. It's the reason the script was the shortest script I've ever written. The running time of the film is very lean, very stripped down film, because you can only sustain that for so long before you really exhaust people. But really that was always the intention, is to try and give the audience a rhythm and an experience of filmmaking that they haven't had before.
Talk about the one day on the set where you looked around and everything was just and you were thinking, I can't believe this many moving parts are happening in unison perfectly.
There was one day when I walked out onto the beach and they'd set dressed about 1 kilometre's worth of beach in Dunkirk. There was real Spitfires flying overhead, warships in the background, the mole which they recreated because it was been bombed to nothing by the Jones. And then kind of to top it all off, there was 1,300 to 1,500 extras at one time on the beach in full battle gear with explosions going off, you know, from planes flying overhead. Obviously not real bombs, but
Sure.
so that was probably the most amazing moment, yeah.
All right, Harry, question from a viewer.
Hi Harry, it's Kenzie. So we're not taught much about Dunkirk in our schools here in America, so I was wondering if this rescue story was something that you knew growing up.
Yeah, I think you touch on it at school, but it's not, I think it was so early on and obviously not considered a victory. So I don't think people teach it as much as you would expect, and I think there was something that's so great about the movie is that it's such a massive piece of history and an important part of the war, and I think it's a such an important part that isn't told that often.
I'd be remiss if I didn't start this interview by saying, awesome! This was epic awesome! Awesome! This might be one of the most remarkable cinematic experiences I've ever had.
Nice. Awesome.
Sitting in a movie theater, IMAX screen, the biggest screen you can possibly get, knowing that I was seeing a rare treat, something that was shot on IMAX film, shown on IMAX film, featuring something that needs to be shown in this format.
Yeah, I seen it that way last night. You were there as well.
I saw you taking a selfie of yourself in front of the poster afterwards.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the movie, you know?
You know, I took great joy in that because I could tell you weren't there to brag. You
I
were
was
just very proud of the moment.
Yeah, I am, and I'm really proud to be a part of this, and you know, given the historic event it is, and yeah.
Yeah, an amazing, epic movie. Christopher Nolan definitely at least deserved the nomination, if nothing else.
Yeah, sure. I'm not a war movie type, but I understand why it's nominated.
Sure, me too. I mean, a lot of thought went into that film. It keeps you, your eyes, you can't take your eyes off but at the end of the day, you're not emotionally involved with it.
If I remember nothing from this edition of Extra Butter, I'm just always going to remember Brian Krall referring to it as like a Disneyland version. Soaring over World War II. Well, I love like in Soaring when you go like over the pine groves, you smell pine. When you go to the ocean.
Yeah.
So
What would
when
you
you fly over to London, fish and chips, like tartar sauce, I don't
probably
know.
don't want to smell anything from that movie.
I could have gone a much different direction with that, so maybe
Harry
it's...
Styles hair gel.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
None of us would have ever been casted. We talk way too much.
Soaring over World War II.
Yeah, they wouldn't know. No way.
All right, this is an animated discussion. Do you know why I chose that word?
Because animation.
Cheap segue. Animated feature. Ferdinand versus Coco. Coco's gonna win, but we'll talk about both next.
Wait, Ferdinand, why is that nominated?
Hey, welcome back. It is Extra Butter, our Academy Award Oscar special. Woo! Which is why you yell a little bit louder when we come back from commercials.
Right.
All right. So, one thing that I haven't gotten wrong in 20 years, animated feature. And I'm feeling it this year.
Okay.
How could it not be Ferdinand? How could it not be Boss Baby?
Stop.
You said, like, while we were commercial, you looked at you. Ferdinand? How is that even nominated?
Yeah, I thought it was a joke, you guys. No offense, John Cena. No offense.
No, I will get crazy up in here. You like movies? We'll make a movie.
Still love you, but
Even
yeah, I
John
thought
Cena knows he's not going to win for Best Picture. All right, let's just be real.
It is a good movie.
It is, and the original one that it's based off of did win the Oscar in like the whatever year, years and years and years and years and years ago. So you got to give them that, if anything.
Sure.
There is a little bit of a message in it about bullying. Get a big Ferdinand bull.
That is a cute message, so I can understand that. It's like it's kind of between a message of be yourself and like. I think it almost has like a very even more underlying message about masculinity and like, you know, how you can embrace that, but maybe that's not really who you are. Anyways, this is for another show.
I noticed you didn't make eye contact. She didn't make eye contact with me when she said masculinity.
She said masculinity.
Anyway, I talked to the gentle giant himself, John Cena, about it. Take a look.
I feel like a very small, puny man to begin with, but sitting next to you, very troublesome.
I think you're selling yourself way short. We're good. We're like exact duplicates.
Right. Hey, hold it down back there. We're broadcasting.
It's kind of tough. It's kind of tough.
A little bit.
Yeah?
Well, you know, on that note, let's do a play-by-play of what happened with you and I. Now, here's me going through the course, the China shop moments ago. I tried to be nimble. I knocked over a couple plates, as opposed to you. Let's talk about what you're doing.
Here's me going through the course very slow, trying to be as agile as I can, but with a size 14 shoe, making my share of mistakes.
I was surprised that you weren't a little bit more, you know, aggressive, given what you do for a living in your other life.
I've been able to be around a lot of folks in our armed services.
Yeah.
And they have a constant phrase of slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So that's kind of what I adopted going through the course.
Did you take that? Were you adopting that to some of your WWE life as well?
I think we can all jump the gun on life in general and want to tackle things without thinking things through.
Sure.
And every once in a while, if you just look and kind of evaluate, you'll get through maybe without breaking anything.
All right. Look at you in this movie. Is this the fulfillment of any childhood dream for you?
Telling a wonderful story and being able to tell a great story that kids and parents alike will enjoy and hopefully be able to take with them outside the theater. I think there's going to be a lot of cool moments talked about between families after they see this movie.
I was thinking about you and what it must have been like. So, like the 8-year-old John Cena. Tell the 8-year-old John Cena about this and about what you are in life right now.
Hey, 8-year-old John. It's going to get weird. Stay here as an 8-year-old as long as you can.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. 8-year-old life was great. All you did was look forward to summer vacation. It was
fantastic. Pretty much it?
Yeah, I just wanted to hang out with my friends and you know, school was really fun and we got to do artwork at school and put on plays and be really cool, and it was an easier time then, a simpler time. Yeah, growing up's tough.
John, we're going to go ahead and give you honorable mention right now. Ferdinand was a good movie, if not a great movie. Probably not going to win the Academy Award.
It's so cute that he's in this, though, and he's actually in a kid's movie. It shows that he has a lot of heart, just like the movie.
True. Es bien, muy bien, but not as bien as Coco. And I'm speaking Spanish because this is a movie that truly celebrates the Latin culture deeply and perfectly.
Oh my gosh, you guys already know how I feel about Coco, and I'm not gonna lie, I already knew that it was going to be nominated before I even saw the movie. I mean, it has everything. The animation is unreal, the story is unreal, the research behind the movie is unreal. Like everything is just hands-on, on point for this movie.
Yeah.
I was listening to an NPR story where there is a village that produces guitars like the one from the movie, and they are selling more guitars than they've ever sold. And it's in the same image as the one in the movie. So it's a white guitar and it's all it's decorated just like it.
They're smart to do that. And like I said in other episodes, the reason Pixar is so amazing at what they do is because they not only just dip their toes in the water, but they fully immerse themselves in the culture. I mean, they actually had GoPros on guitars. So when people are playing the guitar, the same keys would be shown when the animated characters play as well. I mean, they give us that experience that we can remember and also put us in that culture. It's incredible. It's a great movie.
And if you don't know anything about Dia de los Muertos, that's something, you know, that Dia de los Muertos. it's also educational in that sense because it teaches you about a culture and like something that's very, very highly regarded in Mexican culture that maybe you could learn a little bit from this movie.
And respecting your ancestors. I talked to Benjamin and Anthony about it.
This movie is so beautiful, and I want to say, just talking about it makes me want to weep, but they're happy tears, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, that's been it's been a really gratifying reaction to discover that, you know, for the most part, audiences know what they're getting into when they go to a Pixar movie. They're gonna have a great, you know, they're gonna have a great time.
Right.
There's always gonna be a sense of adventure and humor and a little bit of emotion, but I think all of those things are amped up to the 10th degree, you know, when it comes to watching this movie. In part, I think, because it's a reflection of this really vibrant, beautiful culture that not a lot of people have a true understanding of, because it's never been depicted this way before.
Right.
So we're excited, and we're really happy to, you know, to see that people are embracing it from all walks of life.
For you, what kind of pressure is this? This movie, it's so important. So many people are loving this movie, talking about it.
Thank you. Well, it's just been an incredible journey and so much fun doing the voice of Miguel. I auditioned when I was 9 years old, and I actually got the part when I was 11. And just doing the voice of Miguel has been so much fun. And I even got to sing in the project, which was like a bonus because we're doing two things that I love to do and that I will do forever is to sing and to act, and doing them in Coco has just been so much fun. And yeah, especially with an amazing cast like Benjamin Bratt and the rest of the cast.
So not to put you on the spot, but you get to sing in this movie. It came as a big surprise. So sing, when I go, okay, your favorite line that you sang from this movie, what does that sound like? Belt it out right now.
Give him a piece of Poco Loco.
Okay.
A little sample. Give me a hint.
You make me un poco loco, un poquitito loco. The way you keep me guessing, I'm nodding and I'm yesing. I'll count it as a blessing that I'm only un poco loco.
Hey, now that is a sample.
And that's a true performer.
And you?
Ain't gonna happen, brother.
I can't say enough good things about those two and this movie and the people who brought it to you. Pixar animators didn't want to just give you a cheesy caricature snapshot of Mexico. Some of them lived in Mexico. I actually took a journey to San Miguel de Allende, which inspired many scenes in this movie.
So what did you think?
Of San Miguel or Coco?
No, of San Miguel. I want to know, does it live up to the hype?
Well, I saw the movie and talking to Pixar animators, they whet my thirst for wanting to jump into this culture in a way I never have. Everybody's gone to all of the resorts in Mexico. Very few people outside of Mexico have made the journey to really get to know the culture. Right. And San Miguel puts you right in the center of it. So yes, I loved it, and I absolutely see why they were inspired so.
I think that's really cool that you took that extra step, Mark. Yeah, I think that's really neat.
I was started crying talking about it. It was beautiful. Anyway, if you haven't seen the movie, you need to buy it now immediately.
Yes, buy it for sure.
All right, another movie that's equally as important, Mudbound. It should be nominated in each and every category. It did okay. We'll talk with its stars. Also, all the money in the world celebrated in a unique way, a Guinness record. I'll explain that next. Hey, welcome back. It is our Extra Butter Oscar special. Thanks for hanging out with us. I can't wait for the big night. Usually it's a little predictable, especially after last year. All bets are off.
It's really competitive this year, I'm not gonna lie. We've had debates off camera, just talking about it, you know?
There's a lot of great contenders this year.
There is.
Do you think there's gonna be a flub like last year where they announce one winner and then they go back and say it's somebody else?
How constricted are people going to be that penultimate moment before they announce?
Oh, I thought it was great. I remember I cussed when I was like, what the?
I know. We had a
So
Facebook
good.
Live going at the same time we were broadcasting last year. And on Facebook, you'll hear him say words we can't say right now.
I don't think that's going to happen ever again because I think everyone's going to be on lockdown before they announce. In a cage, no one's going to be allowed to come near them to take selfies or anything.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen
Now,
again.
this is an illusion. Rarely, with the exception of the occasional Star Wars, do we actually sit like this and watch movies. We see movies at separate times. You saw Mudbound before any of us and said, Mary J. Blige will get nominated for this.
I did. That was the first time I actually called something correctly.
Nice.
But it's crazy because the first 5 to 10 minutes, Mary J. Blige you do not know that is her in this movie.
Oh, yeah, I had no idea.
She gives such a stoic, serious performance, and that was her main goal. All the women in this movie, they don't say a lot, but they say so much with just the feeling they give you and the empathy they have. It's an incredible movie. I think Jason Mitchell should have even been nominated.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But he wasn't. And it's a very serious topic. There's a lot about race and about war and PTSD and a little bit of love thrown in, but it's a really good film.
And you sat down with her, Carey Mulligan. What'd you guys talk about?
Exactly that. How she's been training. Mary J. Blige has been training with her own family for her role for a very long time.
Take a look.
Well, I think I was being prepared for this role since I was a little girl. My mom and my dad are Southern, so my mom sent me down south every summer. And so my grandmother was this woman, my aunts were this woman, and they all have farms, and I saw them kill chickens and, you know, and cows. I saw them kill a lot of animals, and they were very powerful, silent women. But when they did speak, everything moved. So, you know, I had this woman in me. She's all in my family tree.
And that's what I love about your character the most, is you say so much without saying anything. Just the way you look at people and just the emotion. You just feel so much raw emotion coming out of your characters.
Right.
And what was your favorite moment, favorite scene or favorite moment that you'll both take with you for the rest of your life from the shooting of this film?
Well, I think I'm gonna take the whole thing with me. It was just such an experience. I get chills and almost want to cry thinking about it, because I'm standing next to Carey Mulligan, and I'm just like, I'm a huge fan, and we're doing all these shots, and I'm just freaking out. She doesn't know I'm freaking out.
Aww.
I'm standing next to Jason. I'm his mother, Jason Mitchell, who I saw Straight Outta Compton, and I'm finally get a chance to tell him, "Oh my God, you made me cry! Oh my God!" So I'm just learning so much from Jason Clarke and
everybody.
And Dee is the biggest inspiration. To watch this woman work was just amazing. She was so sure, so humble, she treated us beautifully. People don't, I'm just gonna take it all with. I'm gonna take it all with me.
Take the whole thing.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it was
same thing.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was hard, and that's the best jobs are. The best jobs are the ones that push you. Like, there's no point doing it if it's not hard.
If it's not going to challenge you.
But it was just an extraordinary group of people to be with, and and led by Dee, who's our favourite person.
Oh, love that movie. A game changer for a multitude of reasons. Let's talk about the effect of streaming services now.
Insane.
Right.
And Netflix, Amazon Studios, with the streaming. It's insane how when I first knew that I was going to cover the movie, I kept looking, when does it come out in theaters? When does it come out in theaters? It's insane that it was released on Netflix.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now some movies don't even hit the theaters.
No.
They just go straight to streaming, and I feel like it still gets a lot of eyes on them.
Yes, that's the new way.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Amazon. No, you did it.
Are you going to talk about fish again?
No fish stories. Listen, there's a great service on Amazon that they provide for free for screenplay writers. That as soon as you're done with your work, you can actually submit it straight to Amazon.
What?
Yeah, I swear. Yeah, so look it up, Google it.
All right.
Yeah.
I will Google it. Now, I will say, in order to be nominated for an Academy Award, whether you're created by a streaming service or a conventional distributor / movie-making entity, you have to appear on screens, at least 2 screens, to be eligible for the Academy Award.
Really?
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that's why Mudbound was most likely released in theaters
release
first.
limited, and then it goes into its digital service. What do I know? I still have sleeves of movies under my bed I need to send back to Netflix. Thanks for reminding me.
At the very
We don't want to talk about movies under your bed. No one needs to know that information.
I feel happy for Mary J, though, because she's gone through a lot in her life, if you know anything about her background. And she recently got a Hollywood star, and now she might get an award, and I'm just like, good for you, Mary J. Blige. She deserves it so much.
Absolutely. All right, so this year when we talk about All the Money in the World, a lot of people go back to the fact that it came out, that Mark Wahlberg came back for the reshoots, but was paid exponentially more than Michelle Williams. He has since donated that same money back to charity, so I think that's a great thing.
In honor of Michelle Williams.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's good. And that kind of overshadows the movie itself.
And the nominations.
And the nominations. It didn't do that well as I thought it was going to do, but it has to be said. insane that it took, how long did it take? 9 days to reshoot.
9 days to reshoot. Christopher Plummer jumped in. He read the script overnight and instantly jumped into reshooting Kevin Spacey scenes. Nailed it. Nominated, one of the oldest people in the history of Hollywood to do so.
Incredible.
So
and in 9 days, they reshot all those scenes in 9 days. That in and of itself deserves an award. That's unheard of.
I talked to he and Ridley Scott about that challenge. Take a look. I think your day with the press is going to be longer than your entire time spent making this movie.
Probably, yes. 9 days is all I had.
In your career, can you think of anything as extraordinary as the feat that you were asked to jump into?
Not really, no. In the theater, we do replace each other every now and then, but not on, certainly not on film. No, it was a complete unique experience, I think, for anybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, I should preface this by saying this movie is extraordinary. It's among your best. And without that said, this movie is neither going to make you or break you, but something tells me that you actually enjoyed the challenge.
And I enjoyed the movie because I was screening that the other night in the big theater at Sony, and I did my thing, blah, 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 to, the audience.
I was there.
You were there. But I went around the back, and I sat up, that's the mixing room. I sat at the back, I got stuck there for another hour because I can't help watching the movie. It's such a very interesting, great dynamic. It's a very interesting story.
Oh, yeah.
The characters are great, so I got tied up again and then eventually snuck up after an hour.
Like, I could tell you movies without, poking fingers. I could tell you movies where they spent decades of pre-production, got into it, and screwed the whole damn thing up.
Sure.
You guys jumped in here in 9 days and made one of the most extraordinary movies of the season.
Yeah. Oh, that's very nice to say that. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, what was the day on the set where you thought, wait a minute, this is actually working. We're going to do this.
Well, no, I had to think that from the very beginning. I mean, I convinced myself every second of the day that I was doing the right thing.
Right.
We did the big house first, or did we do Italy first? I can't remember.
The big house first.
Because when you go in that big house, that's pretty. That lays down the ground rules.
Yes, that was the most. That was the most comfortable.
Yeah, but you met Lord Salisbury.
Yeah, we did Hatfield House, which belonged to Lord Salisbury, and Elizabeth I was born there.
Sure.
Yeah. And it was a marvelous house. The minute I hit it, I felt, oh God, I've got all this wealth around me, so I didn't have to act wealth.
Right.
Thank God it was there.
The props, the set dressing, did the acting for you.
Absolutely.
You just said, "Come and move those chairs over here." He said, "Sure." So you move them. So it's an incredible environment.
Yeah.
Win or not win, there's a couple legends right there.
Yeah.
Ridley Scott sitting next to Christopher Plummer. That's Hollywood legend.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to win.
No.
However, great movie.
Yeah.
With or without controversy, a great movie.
And the story, how it finessed its way onto the screen after all that controversy, that, like I said, deserves an award in and of itself.
Right, like if someone put me up for $1 million ransom, if I was being held in a box somewhere, would you guys bail me out?
I really like your makeup, Alexa. Your makeup today looks really pretty.
Thank you.
Cue to tease next segment now. All right, cue to awkwardly segue tease into Lady Bird. Coming up next, it's the little movie that could, that should, that would, if Greta Gerwig has her way. Are we rooting for her? Yeah, some. We'll talk about that next. Hey, welcome back. It's almost time to wrap up this 2018 Oscar special. I'm so sad, you guys.
I know.
But it's okay, there's always next year too to look forward to.
All the other movies.
Are you guys going to invite me next year to do the Oscar show again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
You have that suit
As long as you
next
don't
year.
talk about making out with fish again.
No, it's cool. I will.
I was just going to say only if you talk about making out with fish. Any context.
You know
I
what?
don't care.
I had to brush off my funeral suit to come here today. Luckily, I haven't used it in a long time. It was dusty.
All right, I know you will be putting that suit back on in mourning if Greta Gerwig does not win, because he owns a club in Sacramento called the Comedy Spot. You're rooting for your hometown.
I am. I thought this movie was great. I liked it even better than what I thought I was going to like it. I thought it was just going to be a movie set in Sacramento. I'm from Sacramento, but it was a movie about Sacramento, and I think if you've lived here for a long time, you know how special this city is, and how it is a growing city, and I think she captured that beautifully, and so I commend her for like going after something that isn't really popular. I mean, like I'm going to pitch a movie about Sacramento. I'm sure it was hard to get made.
I thought this was going to be a movie that dissed Sacramento, and then at the end, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to plot spoil it, brings it home. I know things about Greta Gerwig, and I know that there are parts of this movie that are autobiographical, but she's trying to backpedal from that. Have you noticed?
I mean, she kind of says that it's not, but it is, but it's not, you know. I mean, I think it is, but it's just too much, I guess, like what we know about her real life, you know? But I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I enjoyed the movie. It inspired me to want to live in a beautiful blue house, so I might have to, you know, move on from here and...
Raise your hand if you've ever lied about where you live to anybody.
Yeah, I've downplayed it. I have. I haven't mentioned it. It's the same thing, right?
I tell everybody I live with Brian. But I talked to Greta Gerwig about all of this stuff. Take a look. All right, I've seen it twice now. I want to see it sitting next to you and go, did that happen? Did that happen? Did that happen? I know it's not truly autobiographical, but I know Scott, and when he handpicked the movie Top 5 with Chris Rock, this movie is as much about you as it's not about you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not literally autobiographical, but it's really close to my heart, and it's really personal.
I've never jinxed anybody by saying this ever. I can tell you at least a dozen people that went on to get the Academy Award when I said congratulations in advance on all the awards for screenplay, acting, supporting acting, directing, everything. You deserve it, and if you don't get it, I know the nods are at least going to come your way.
Thank you so much, and I'm gonna just knock wood, and I'm crossing my fingers, and I would be thrilled.
All right, confirmed on that red carpet right there. It is not autobiographical.
I don't know.
Regardless, I hope it goes on to win an Academy Award. You know, truly, if you really dig deep into it, it's the story of Brian Crawl.
It's true. I went to a Catholic school, girls' Catholic school.
Did you wear the little skirt?
I did.
Really?
Did you wear the Britney Spears ponytails?
Did you go to confession? And what were you confessing about, Brian Crawl? Tell us now.
Don't ask.
All right, quickly as we wrap it up, Academy Awards, what are you looking forward to Academy Award night?
I am definitely, like, besides the amazing films, I want to see what the stars are going to be wearing. That's always my favorite part.
I'm looking forward to every joke they make about the big debacle at the end of last year's Academy Awards.
Yeah, pretty much all that. I'm hoping to see some, I don't know what I was going to say.
You know what I'm hoping for next year? Can I get in a time machine and go forward to this very show we're talking about next year?
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about all of the Academy Award nominations for Black Panther. Ryan Coogler for Best Director.
Absolutely.
That's a good
Next year.
call.
All right. Hey, you do have something in common with him.
I do. We were both made at Sac State. It's like a special thing that Sac State puts out. Yeah. So I was on some buses. You might have seen me on some buses.
Really?
Brian's really famous.
On a thing inside
I was inside the mall as a squirrel. Let's not talk about that.
Want to know?
That's right.
I was made at a drive-in movie theater in Amarillo, Texas. Sound of Music was playing. And, oh, look, we're out of end credits. Have a good one. See ya.
Bad visuals.
Sorry.
Oh, I just gleeked. Did you guys see that?
Oh, you know how you just said when you get a moist
Have I?
piece? When you get a moist piece,
Ryan's been gleeking this whole time.